a powerhouse life and business coach, and the unapologetic voice behind the top 1% podcast, Awake and Winning, Kaylor Betts.
The purpose of life is to find your gift, and the meaning of life is to give it away. What a beautiful opportunity. We had a 1 in 400 trillion chance to be born. You don't make excuses. Life is hard. The universe tests you, but God is just trying to make you better. I always worried, like, am I ever going to get out of this? Like, how am I going to, and then I started to listen to Tony Robbins and Joe Dispenza and Jim Rohn. This meat suit that we have on is useful. It has utility, but it's not like really who we are. Sometimes I say things that are controversial and maybe not everyone agrees with, but
Today I'm joined by Kaylor Betts, a powerhouse life and business coach and the unapologetic voice behind the top 1% podcast, Awake and Winning. He's built a movement by challenging the status quo, pushing people to think critically, take radical responsibility, and reclaim their sovereignty in a world that wants them controlled. Through hard-hitting coaching, unfiltered conversations, and real-world strategies, Kaylor gives people the tools to break out of the matrix and build a life where they win in body, mind, home, and business on their own terms. He believes in living ungovernable, free from the limitations imposed by broken systems, outdated beliefs, and self-imposed barriers. Enjoy this conversation with Kaylor Betts. What is your purpose and how did you find it?
that's a very interesting question. I don't believe I found my purpose as much as I created it. And I think that is a important distinction because a lot of people, it's actually a very common question that I get. People will come to me and say, like, how did you find your purpose? I can't find my purpose. And I think that fundamentally, although everything is nuanced, and this is kind of the problem with content and podcasts, is that, I just try and simplify everything. So, for our audience, everything I say, just know that, like, if we expanded on it, that's going to be nuanced. There's going to be complexities. There's going to be exceptions and anomalies and all this stuff. But if I'm just simplifying the process of, aligning with your purpose, I think that fundamentally it's the same for every human. There's a really good quote that says, the purpose of life is to find your gift, and the meaning of life is to give it away. Or it might
Mm.
be reverse. So it might be the purpose of life is, or sorry, the meaning of life is to find your gift. The purpose of life is to give it away. I genuinely think that every single human on earth has a unique gift. I don't think it's a privilege. I think it is a human right to have a unique gift, something. And it might be that you have a knack for dog breeding or knitting or crochet or poker or boating or fixing cars or climbing, mountains. Like, we all have something that is unique to us that we, I believe, excel at or can excel at. And I'm even going to go as far as saying, I talked about the anomalies and whatnot. I have a friend who has Down syndrome, and um, I've known him since junior high, and he has one of the most special gifts I've ever seen or witnessed. Like, he can fucking light up a room, man. Like, everyone knows Scotty and everyone loves Scotty, and he is just like his personality, his zest for life, his energy is just exceptional. So, like, he has a gift, even though, we call it a disability, right? We think that someone who has Down syndrome or someone who's autistic, even, like, we say, we think that, that, well, these people can't do anything exceptional. And it's like, no, actually, in many ways, I would say, comparatively to the average person, they can do a lot of things exceptional. So I mean it. Why I brought up my buddy with Down syndrome and autistic people, why I brought that up is because, like, I mean it when I say that every fucking human on this planet, I believe, has a gift. And I believe that the only thing to find is that gift. And I don't even think that gift is your purpose. I think it becomes your purpose when you give it away. What does that mean? Well, I think that means that you create some sort of vessel, some sort of project, some sort of mission where you use and leverage that gift to make the world or other people a better place, or the world a better place, or people transform their lives in some way, shape, or form. And I think that's all I've done. That's all I've done. It's my mission, and it's actually a pretty selfish pursuit. Like it's what I need. I do it because I fucking need it. And I can sit here all day and I can say that I only do it because of the impact it has on other people. And don't get me wrong, largely it feels that way, but I need it, man. I mean, it's my drug. It's a healthy drug. It's a healthy
Mm.
obsession and it's a healthy mission. And I believe that wired into all of us is a yearning for a mission that and a North Star that we can align with that fills our cup. We, the reason why I think that works, that equation, is because as humans, we really enjoy doing things we feel we're good at or that we are good at. So that's number one. And then if we're useful to others, that also makes us feel really good. So the problem is there's so many people on this earth in our society, even in countries where abundance is everywhere and opportunities are everywhere. We have way too many people that aren't really doing anything that they feel exceptionally good at. So they don't feel like they're valued because they're actually not as much as they could be. And they're not genuinely useful to others, at least to the degree in which they know they can be. And I think that is truly one of the toxicities of our modern society and why so many people are fat, sick, tired, weak, and broke, if I'm being honest.
So you did not find your purpose, you created it, and you use your gift to give that purpose away to others. How can
I
the
f-
people listen?
Sorry to interject. I just want to make sure I'm clear. I think what I found was my gift, and that's what I tell people when they say, "How do you find your purpose? How do I find my purpose?" It's just like find a gift that you have. And by the way, many people have many gifts. Find a gift and then create something. And it doesn't have to be a business. Business is an option. It doesn't have to be a job. It doesn't have to be a nonprofit. It could literally just be just a system of how you show up and how you can actually use that gift to be useful to others.
How can the listeners figure out or create or find what their gift is?
Yeah, good question. So there's a few key indicators um, that I'll just name off and in no particular order. I'll kind of say them randomly. I often say like, okay, well, what makes you cry? You know, like if I were to let's have fun with it. Like Jessica, if I were to ask you like, what makes you cry? Like in not in a bad way, like not makes you sad and like but like what just could make you cry like that, like in an instant.
Like there's so many different types of cries, I feel like a happy cry or
Yeah, more of a positive one. What instills another way to look at it is like what instills so much, what evokes so much emotion within you that is not from entirely sadness or depression or anguish that will evoke so much emotion in you that you could just cry in an instant because of how beautiful it is or
I would say the love and the care I have for people in my life and or that attachment and the thought of that being gone, like that person being gone. So
so
the attachment or the ripping away of the attachment.
I'm hearing relationships, right? Like
Mhm.
I'm just bonds, connections,
Yes.
relationships, interpersonal relationships, um, love. So that's what I'm hearing. So that could be one of your gifts. I bet you are the person that people come to talk about their, if they need an ear, they're probably coming to you. That would just be me venturing a guess. And people would probably say you're a really great friend and you're really great to have in their corner. So like that's just an example of like could be a key indicator of something that will lead you to finding your gift within the realm of relationships or people. There could be something there, right? I'll use myself as an example. If someone were to say, what makes you cry in an instant that's not just pure sadness, depression, or anguish? I don't know what it is. Like, well, I do know what it is, but when I see a comeback story, when I see someone go through extreme adversity and overcome it and persist enough to be able to then get to a beautiful view and to the peak and to winning and to success, it's like the floodgates open for me. Like, you ever see the movie Pursuit of Happiness?
I believe so, but it's been a while.
That fucking movie. I hope I'm allowed to swear. I'm sure you
Mhm.
knew what you were getting when you booked me, but that movie will make me cry instantly. I could watch that movie every day for the rest of my life, and I'm pretty sure I would cry every time. Why? I don't know. It evokes so much emotion within me to see someone go through, because the whole movie is just, he's just literally sleeping in a subway bathroom with his little kid. It's based on a
Mhm.
true story, and he just persists and he just does the damn thing and he does what's required. He works hard. He teaches his son all along the way that you don't make excuses. Life is hard. The universe tests you, but God is just trying to make you better. And if you keep going, eventually you're going to win on a long enough time horizon. And that's what he does in that movie. And it makes me cry every time. So that's kind of a hint of what my gift is. I help people through adversity, right? And that's also my story is I've been through hell and back. People ask me like, "What's your degree, Kaylor?" And I'm like, "I've been through hell and back. I don't have a fucking degree on the wall. I've lived it. I had to find a way to get out of the depths of not even being able to get out of bed in the morning, and I would have rather stayed asleep because I would have rather lived in my dreams than face the reality that was my life. Like that's my degree. That's where, my gift lies. And that's why now I help people go through hell and back, you know? So now some people will find that what makes them cry is horses. Like they could just like the sun could be setting, they could be on their horse or hugging their horse or whatever, and they could just cry with the horse in their arms. It's like, okay, well, that's your fucking gift, right? What makes you forget to go to the bathroom is another good one.
How so?
What makes you forget to go poop? Well, or go pee, right? Um, because it's a key indicator because that means you're so engaged that you're actually ignoring a natural bodily function. That's basically when we have to go to the bathroom, your body is basically sending off these alarms to your psychology saying, "Hey, we got to get this out." And if there's something that makes you forget to go to the bathroom, it means you're so interested in it and so passionate about it, that is probably a good indicator. The other one that I'll use that might even be the best one is talk to the people around you. Go to your best friend, your sister, your brother, your mother, your cousin, your teammate, your coworker, and the people that know you best and say, "Hey, I'm trying to find what I excel at and I'm having a hard time. I want you to think about this. Give them time. Don't put them on the spot. This is really important because if you put them on the spot and they get a little nervous because they're like, oh my God, nothing's coming to mind, but I don't want to pretend like I don't want to pretend like I'm going to have to pretend like something's coming to mind because I don't want it to seem like there's nothing that I have for you. So they may just not be honest with you. Tell them, I want you to think about it. I want you to get back to me. I want you to tell me what you think my superpower is. So
Mhm.
those are three ways.
Do you think that that story in that movie and different stories like that inspire you because you can relate so much with those emotions that that person is experiencing because of your story? I would love for you
Yes,
to.
but I
Mhm.
also think that there's just something innate. Like I don't know. I am kind of starting to believe that we were all put on this earth for something. That's about as woo woo as I'll get, you know? Like I do think that a lot of us, if not all of us, are here to execute a certain mission. And I think there's something innately in me that would have always cried at that.
I would love for you to expand on your story.
Well, I could barely get out of bed in the morning for most of my life. It was the hardest part of the day. I dealt with anxiety, depression, ADHD, panic attacks. I didn't graduate high school. At one point, I was letting myself go and being a degenerate. I was drinking all the time. I was partying a lot. I was um, self-medicating with weed, using food. Food is kind of has always been a something I have a tendency for. I have addictive tendencies towards. Um, I tried to start 6 businesses and they all failed. Yeah, it was really bad. Like I was in a battle with my mind, and I can genuinely say up until about 25 maybe, I don't even think I had ever experienced joy. Like I didn't even know what it really felt like. And I always worried, like, am I ever going to get out of this? Like, how am I going to, and then I started to listen to Tony Robbins and Joe Dispenza and Jim Rohn. And um, what they really did is, what I think a coach does? One of the most powerful thing a coach does is I think that they allow you to borrow their confidence, some of their confidence. So I felt like I borrowed their confidence at that time because I had no confidence in me. But I just felt like when I listened to Tony Robbins, I'm like, this guy has so much fucking confidence in me and he doesn't even know me.
Mm,
But he has so much confidence that I can turn my life around and that I actually hold the keys and that there's just a part of me that has all my wounds and all my fears and insecurities and ego and everything that's just taking the wheel that of the vehicle that is my life, and that I can actually take back the wheel. And I just borrowed their confidence, and that's when I started to get obsessed with personal growth and development and healing and transformation and achieving your highest potential and just achieving success. Like I just became honestly, Jessica, like I just got to a point where I just was like, man, this shit is going to be over real quick. And I don't know what's next. I have my beliefs, but this human experience is going to be over real quick. And I just looked at it as like, this is a game. And I know, look, sometimes I say things that are controversial and maybe not everyone agrees with, but this has really served me to just look at life as a game. Now, that doesn't mean that it doesn't have any meaning, okay? It's actually a very meaningful game. But I look at it as like, what a beautiful opportunity. We had a 1 in 400 trillion chance to be born. That's what very,
mm,
very smart people have calculated. And then not only that, but 1 in 400 trillion to just get the opportunity to have this human experience. But then further to that, what are the odds that I was born in this time in human history? One of the most abundant and opportunistic times in human history, safest. And then further to that, I'm born in Canada, North America, which certainly we talk about we're on a dangerous trajectory to some degree, but we're living in like paradise in comparison to where most people in human history were. So it's this perspective. And then it's to realize you got this opportunity. Why not just fucking go for it? Why not be the main character in your movie? Like we're living in
mm,
a movie.
mm,
That's one way we could look at it. And I just want to be the main character. And what does the main character do? He fucking goes for it. She goes for it.
mhm,
So I went for it. And I went on an obsessive and relentless journey that turned my life around. And I just got addicted to success. And by the way, that hasn't always been healthy for me. But net, it's been net positive. On the macro, it's been the best decision I've ever made. But yeah, I've overdone it. I still think I'm, you know, I could probably be happier if I toned it down a little bit. But honestly, I don't really optimize for happiness more than anything. I love happiness maybe just as much as the next person. But there's a great quote that says, who needs happiness when you have mountains to move? And I just feel like I have mountains to move, and I'm optimizing more for fulfillment, and I love being fulfilled. And when happiness comes, I enjoy it, and it comes often. But what I really love is that I feel aligned with what I was put on this earth to do.
I can relate to your story so much, and I'm sure a lot of the listeners can. I had a similar experience so far. I didn't treat my body well. My MO was to have fun, and I did not take any regard to my health. And so I experienced a lot of the dark things that are available to us on this planet. And that ultimately led to my own rock bottom, so to speak. And then discovering that there is another way and that we can have fun and enjoy life while we're here, and that we don't need to reach out for all those things that are here. I feel like to tempt us, that are normalized, and we can go down that rabbit hole if we want. But I think we both feel the same about pharmaceuticals, and alcohol is, something that is so normalized, but is really, I mean, they call it spirits. And I relate it, I don't know if you've heard this, but spirits meaning like evil spirits. It causes different vibrations to come out. And yeah, it was like once I let go of all those things, it's really like, to me, you can tell me if you agree, it's more about what you let go of instead of what you add. So like once you release all of these things, then what's left is the love and the light and the peace and the joy and all of those things.
Yeah, there's a when we look at the journey of expansion, healing, and growth as an adult, it really is this like unlearning
Mm,
and this cleansing. Because look, I am of the belief that to our core, like who we are, I mean, Ram Dass has a good line where he just says, we are loving awareness. He may have another word or whatever in there, but sorry, we are conscious, loving awareness, I think is what he says. And anyways, that maybe I'm butchering it, but
I think you're right.
yeah, I think at our core, we are just consciousness. We are just awareness. This meat suit that we have on is like useful. It has utility, obviously. Um, but it's not like really like who we are. And I think that the thing that messes us up the most is the bullshit picture in our heads of the way we think things need to be, you know?
Mhm.
But if we actually just like, it's just all this conditioning. It's all these limiting beliefs and these insecurities and these self-doubts and the ego and the shadow and the wounding and all that is it's just stories that we tell ourselves that are attached to emotions that get in the way of us just living our highest potential. And that's why I'm a proponent of like meditation. And, you know, I haven't gone down the plant medicine route, but um, I can imagine that's a very powerful tool to just really understand who you are at your core, and just ditch like it, sorry, not ditch, because you don't ditch your ego. You don't even need to ditch those stories. You just have to make sure that you understand that they're valid, but it doesn't mean they should dictate your behavior. What should dictate your behavior is just remembering who you are and who you what you believe your highest potential is, your long-term values and commitments, right?
Mhm.
And every single thing you do every day with your behavior, your choices, your decisions, everything you do is either bringing you closer to your highest potential or it's distracting you farther away from it. So I think that's what I like. Ultimately, everyone wants to know how to just be set free. And I think the most profound way to create freedom is actually not in the external world. Like it's not the government, it's not, your house. It's not even your schedule or your time. Like, trust me, I'm all about those things. It's actually just remembering that you're lying to yourself more than the government is, you know? Like the lies that we fucking tell ourselves, the stories that aren't serving us.
Mm.
I mean, my gosh. So set yourself free by becoming conscious and aware of those stories and not being married to them. Like divorce yourself from them and understand who you truly are, what your true essence is, and then watch yourself feel a level of freedom that you never even imagined. And then the cool thing is then you get the G-Wagon. Then you make the 10K a month every month. Then that's when everything starts coming to you. Um,
Mm.
that's my belief at least.
Here's a quote that I liked that I heard you say. The subconscious mind will often opt for a familiar hell over an unfamiliar heaven. You have a coaching academy. How do you approach those underlying subconscious beliefs with your clients? Things like, I'm not good enough or I'm not worthy.
Yeah, I want to note that's not my quote. I definitely can't
Mm.
take credit for that, but it's very true. And life changes when we end up realizing that, we really are just running off this similar to an automatic computer like programming that is just wanting to keep you safe and survive. Because for most of human history, survival was success. It was the only thing that was, equal to success. So we're running off that conditioning that prioritizes safety and survival. And what is the best way to prioritize safety and survival? It's to just, what better way to survive than to just continue doing what we've always done that's brought us to safety and survival today. So,
Mm.
regardless of whether it makes you happy or it serves you or your highest potential, it just wants to keep repeating the pattern because it's clearly made us survive up until now. So it just loves the familiar. It loves to be able to predict the future because then we can avoid the threats, which are more so in the unfamiliar territory. And that's just why I say, like, in today's world, we live in a totally different environment where, like, survival isn't enough. At least if you're lucky enough to be born where we're born or have the life that we live, survival just isn't enough. You know, we can do more
Mm.
than survive. We can get the G Wagon if we want. We can get the 10K a month. You know, we can do all those things. And some people might say, well, I don't want those things. Okay, well, then fill in the blank, whatever you want. The world is your oyster in today's world, but we're still running off that same conditioning. So, to go back to your question, how do we help people identify or overcome those internal conditioned programs and stories that aren't serving them and holding them back and causing them to self sabotage their success? Well, the first step is awareness. So we actually have a strategy where we call it the anti you. So we have a strategy where we want people to identify that part of them, which is just your subconscious, it's your ego largely. It's that part of you that's just prioritizing safety and survival. And it actually wants to dim your light. And we call it the anti you, but we actually recommend that people give it a name. So my anti you, his name is KK.
Mine is
And
Veronica.
oh, you have one.
Yeah.
Okay. Amazing. So yeah, it's that little part of us that shows up and tries to affect our behavior. So one of my favorite quotes is just because your feelings are valid, it doesn't mean that it should dictate your behavior. I also love what Alex Hormozy says, where he says it just a little more bluntly, and he just says, fuck your mood, follow the plan. What he's really saying is he's saying, don't allow KK to take the wheel. Become aware. Don't push it away. Don't scream at it. Don't get angry at it. Don't stuff it under the rug because that's your subconscious. That shit ain't going to go away. And if you stuff it under the rug and run away from it, it's going to come up in other ways and you're going to project in a way in which doesn't serve you. So give it a hug. My God, that's actually what it needs is it needs a hug. But what you really want to do is just be aware of it. And then when you're aware of it, you no longer react to it. You now have the ability to do just like what Viktor Frankl says. He says, between stimulus and response lies a space. In that space lies your ability to respond. And in that response lies your growth and your freedom. So you have the ability to, when you have awareness of it, you create this space. And in that space, you can, respond. And that's where your freedom lies. So we need to understand that that part of us, that anti you, KK is not me. It's just a part of me that I sometimes unconsciously let take the wheel. But I have the ability to be aware enough that I can actually interrupt that pattern and I can choose to make a decision even when I don't feel like it. Okay. People who don't get what they want out of life make decisions based off how they feel or their fears or their emotions. People who do get what they want out of life and set themselves free and win make decisions more so based off their long-term values and commitments. So you can feel unworthy. Like that's the thing is like people think there's some magical way of making it go away. No, you're just going to feel unworthy. Like imposter syndrome is like a really hot topic. And a lot of people will come to me and they'll be like, how do I make the imposter syndrome go away? And it's like, it's not going to go away. You're just not fucking good enough yet. Like that's why you feel like an imposter. And guess what? You are. Like I'm doing something right now. I'm with a group. I just joined this group of exceptional humans, and I feel like this big. And for those that are just listening, I'm making a very small between my thumb and index finger. I'm making a very I'm showing something very small. So it's like that's how I feel because I am an imposter. I'm not on these people's level yet. Keyword yet. So what's my plan? I know there's no way to make that imposter syndrome go away with a snap of a finger. The only way is through. So I'm just going to keep showing up. Therefore, because I get the repetitions in, I will slowly but surely get better and better and develop my skill set. I will grow, I will expand, I will heal, I will win more. And sooner or later, I won't feel like much of an imposter because you're a product of who you let influence you. And because I'm around these people who are stretching me, eventually it's going to force me to level up and I'll feel like I'm worthy. But I'm just accepting of the fact that I don't feel worthy right now. But I'm not shaming myself for that. I'm not thinking that's a problem. That's just how it fucking works. So I don't like fake it till you make it. I like face it till you make it. So I'm just going to face the feeling of self doubt and keep showing up until it's no longer there.
Mhm. One thing that you said about instead of looking at your feelings and not making decisions based on how you feel, sometimes I personally do make decisions based on how I feel, but if it makes me feel uncomfortable or I'm afraid, then I know I need to lean into it. So it's probably what you're saying, but you're saying the flip side. Like don't run
No,
away from it if it makes you feel fear.
we're saying the same thing. This is where, like I said at the beginning, there's nuance.
Mm,
I'm just simplifying it. So of course you're gonna make decisions based off how you feel. Um, what I'm saying though is that maybe a better word is fear. So um, a better way to put it would be I'm not making decisions from emotions and how I feel. I am only making decisions from emotions and how I feel if it aligns with my long-term values and commitments. So, like, for example, I could take what I'm having for dinner tonight. Like, I have a pretty restricted diet because it works for me and it really helps. And like, I'm doing the animal-based thing. So, like, I only have a few. I could have ground beef or I could have a strip loin steak. I'm gonna feel like I'm making the decision based off how I feel, and I am because I could have both. But the fundamental principle that always remains is I have those two options because they align with my long-term values and commitments, right? If I'm just in a place where, like, sometimes I put in my schedule to just, hey, this is your playtime. You can do whatever you want. You could go to a comedy club. You could have a few mezcal and sodas with friends if you want. You could have cigar. You could meditate. You could go in the sauna, workout, whatever. Watch Netflix. In that moment, I'm going to choose what I'm doing based off how I feel. But fundamentally, at the root of it, I'm only in playtime because I need it for whatever reason at that point, and that's what's going to serve me more than anything. Therefore, ultimately, I'm always making decisions based off what my long-term values and commitments are. I hope that makes sense.
Definitely. Yeah. I think we're on the same page. Similar to you joining that group, I joined a self-development type club where I put myself in this situation to learn how to speak better, public speaking, use less filler words, things like that. And I hate it. It's so uncomfortable. And every time I do it or I'll give a speech, it's like, why do I keep doing this to myself? But I feel better after. There's some dopamine effect I learned recently in the brain where we've always known that we can spike dopamine with certain things. But what we've recently learned is that if we do a hard thing, later we get the dopamine hit. So it's why people get obsessed with ice baths and working out and things because yes, it's hard then, but then we feel that dopamine effect after. So I think that's what, more people are learning how to do. And um, that's basically biohacking, I feel like is what they
I'm
would
like
say.
I totally agree, and I am almost at a point where I'm getting to a delayed to be a delayed return absolutist, meaning one of the fundamental keys, if we're oversimplifying it, one of the fundamental keys that we could really look to for just what makes someone successful or build freedom in their life or abundance, it really is just those that have the ability to consistently optimize for delayed returns as opposed to immediate returns wins. Like,
Hmm.
like and this is where people come at you, right? They're just like, "Oh, life's so short. Like you can eat a fucking cookie sometimes." And it's like, yeah, I do every once in a while eat the cookie. In fact, I'll be honest. I didn't have one processed food in 2024 except for one day, Christmas Day. And then the most recent time where I've went off my eating was I had my birthday actually just this last weekend on Saturday. And I wasn't really sure going, I was feeling really good and I wasn't really sure like cuz we're going out for dinner and I'm like, do I have a couple drinks? Do I eat some food that's processed and seed oils and all this stuff? And I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna check in with myself in the moment, and I decided to go for it. And I didn't like go bananas, but yeah, I definitely ate some unhealthy food and whatnot. And it just, I was thinking about it, and everyone's different, right? Some people can eat that and be relatively fine for quite a few days, but Um, it really does a number on me. Like I actually feel more of a hangover from food than I do a few drinks. Like I only drink mezcal unless there's maybe some other option. I don't drink often. I have a whole routine in and around drinking and whatnot. But I do find that in some scenarios, it does serve me to be in a situation with my buddies and we're bullshitting and like, look, anyone who says booze, I mean, maybe there's anomalies, but anyone who says like a few drinks doesn't like, feel good and like when you're in the right environment, I mean, it's a special experience. Mezcal is very clean. It's to me, in my opinion, is the cleanest alcohol. I'll have a few. I won't go overboard. I have routines. I take supplements that uh, decrease the effect it has on your body. And the next day, I'm cold plunging in sauna and da 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 da. Now, food though, because of my gut and my sensitivities, man, that'll put me out. And I just looked back, it was like Monday and I was still kind of feeling slow and sluggish. And I'm just like, you know what? It wasn't worth me to have the food, So I looked back, I analyzed, and I'll take note of that and remember for next time. But it's just everything's an experiment. And for me, the return, I'm not afraid to enter into a vice or something that's not technically healthy for me. I'm not afraid to do that. I got tattoos all over my body and I know that there's, carcinogens and toxins and tattoos and I understand the risk, but everything's a trade-off. So, yeah, so it's like I kind of forget the original question, but I'm just saying that like I'm getting to a point where I almost think that the like I would say 99.9% of the things that I do, if I'm gonna be my best self, are gonna be delayed returns, not immediate returns. Not that there's never a time for just something that is just pure out of pleasure.
It's funny that you mentioned the tattoos. I just put color in my hair for the first time in a couple years, and I just feel like part of me feels like that imposter syndrome type thing because I talk about health so much and avoiding toxins and all these things. But I am also human, and I realize when I'm sitting there and I'm inhaling these fumes that are going into my hair that it's not the healthiest choice. But I know I trust my body and I do 1,000 other things every single day for my health. So if I want to put color in my hair, then I'm not going to beat myself up about it. And yeah, like you, I basically live off of red meat mostly, and then, like celery juice and things like that, nothing processed. It's inside out. I feel like if you're taking care of yourself internally, then you're going to be in a much better position to do these other things periodically.
Yeah, that's the other thing is, and I really support that, by the way. Like, you want to fucking dye your hair, dye your hair. Like, look, everything's a trade-off. You just got to be intentional about it. Like, people, I think some people, when they find out that, I drink every once in a while, it's probably once a month or two, I'll have a few mezcals and sodas. Some people, I think, they're just an absolutist on everything. It's like food, booze, whatever. And it's like, look, everything is there. Like, I even look at coffee. Like, some people seem to do so good off coffee every day. Like, I know some people who seem to have regulated nervous systems. They seem to be totally fine and they work hard and they're drinking like a few cups every day. I can't do that. For whatever reason, my
Mhm.
body, the way I metabolize caffeine and it affects my sleep, my nervous system is too jacked up. Like, my stress hormones get too high. I feel shaky. I get a crash. Like, I just can't do it. And it sucks because I fucking love coffee. So what do?
Same.
I only do it strategically, intentionally, in a calculated way sometimes, but I can't do it every day. But some people seem to not even, it doesn't even matter. So like, we're all different, right? And I think you just have to find like what works for you in what dose, in what amount. And as long as it's intentional, I don't know that I really, besides like heroin and like crazy shit like that, I just don't really write anything off as like, you can never do. I'm talking like everything. I don't, I think the relationship and the mindset you have around something is even the things I hate the most. Like, you won't find someone who's more anti like porn than me. Like, I think porn is so fucking toxic. And I have a journey of watching a lot of porn, okay? Like, as a lot of men do. And I think it's a huge problem. But even that, and I'm only saying this to prove my point, not because I'm trying to promote people watching porn every once in a while, but like I do believe if you went in with the right mindset, you did it intentionally in a calculated way, taking the ethics out of it, the morals out of it, that's a whole other conversation. But I think even something as toxic as porn, even something as toxic as alcohol, even something as toxic as cocaine or whatever. I think just to prove my point about how important your mindset is and your energy and your relationship to it, if you do it in a calculated and intentional way, I think you can do those things every once in a while and it's not going to be that big of a deal, similar to your hair dye.
Mhm. Yeah, I think everything finds its way of balancing out.
Yeah, and I just think the mind is the most powerful thing. Like I'm even starting to believe that maybe the most important thing with food is actually just your mindset around it. You know what I mean? Like this is now getting into kind of like German new medicine kind of stuff. Like I don't know. I'm not 100% sure on that, and I don't know that anyone is, but I think our mindset just has a lot to do with our relationship to everything, you know?
Hmm. Yeah, definitely. I think that's a really, really great place to leave it. I do have two closing questions for you. And the first one is, what is your number one health tip? So whether it's spiritual, physical, emotional, diet and nutrition, the number one thing you would like everyone to know.
Man, that's like picking a favorite child. I just want to say everything. Like, look, I'm just a big proponent of just the fundamentals, the low-hanging fruit, the sleep, the regulating stress, the light in your eyes in the morning, putting your feet on the ground, regulating circadian rhythm, water, clean food. Like I'm about all that. But one that I'll say to abide by your question, and it's only because of like recency bias, but I just bought a walking pad in my place because, I work a lot. It's pretty much all I do besides throwing a workout and cooking a meal and hanging out with friends and getting on a plane here and there. Um, it's pretty much all I do. So I sit a lot, you know. I sit too
Mhm.
much. And I just decided to like I'm like I can't believe I didn't think of this sooner. I was like, why didn't I buy a walking pad? And then I bought like a standing kind of desk situation. And I'm just like, obviously the number one, optimal way of doing this would be to walk outside. Okay. A walk outside is in nature, preferably, is incredible. So I do that as well too. But even just walking throughout the day, like I'm talking like where I used to do deep work and sit for like 2 hours or 3 hours, like meetings, deep work, whatever, there'd be stretches where I'd sit for 2, 3, 4, 5 hours. You just can't do that. You want to be your optimal health. You can't do that. That's not the way we're wired. We are wired to have like a pedestrian lifestyle where we're moving. So at least every like hour, I'm walking for 10, 20, 30 minutes and it's incredible. I mean, just effects it has on everything from blood sugar to energy to dopamine regulation, and then also like body composition. Like, I'm getting my 10,000 steps in a day, and like that shit adds up. That's like, 10,000 steps they say is about burning 500 calories. I think that's maybe more, maybe overshooting it, but like that shit adds up so that by the end of the week, that's like half a pound to a pound of, um, that you can lose of hopefully body fat if you do things properly. So, yeah.
Wow, I was gonna say, how many steps are you getting a day with that?
I don't
Do you
know.
track
I don't
it?
even track.
Yeah.
No, I don't care.
Okay.
As long as I thought about maybe tracking to a T. I'm usually I like to gamify things and quantify, and like I'm not a numbers guy, but I try to make decisions off data and all this stuff. But yeah, I just move. I just know when it's time to move. And
Mhm.
I think that's one of the most underrated health hacks there is just fucking move more.
Completely agree. For your final question, you get to choose a number 1 through 100, and it correlates to a more personal question.
88.
What's a global issue you feel needs more attention?
This
Like it
is
was made for
also
you.
this is also like picking a favorite child. Global issue that I think needs more attention. I would say, oh man, this one is so hard to pick because it's like there's so many that come to mind. Um, Global issue that needs more attention. I would say one that we recently talked about on my podcast. We had someone he's from the Innocent Project, just child trafficking,
Mm,
um, child sex trafficking. Like I didn't know. Like it'll blow your mind when you hear about what's really going on with, you know, kids, you know, and you think it's like this crazy like on the dark web, and it's always like this total underground uh operation. And then we talk about Hollywood and like what's going on there and the Diddy situation and Epstein and stuff. And like, yeah, sure, that needs attention, but like it's also just fucking going on like right in our neighborhoods. Like, it's like, you know, young girls and boys are being taken advantage of and trafficked. Social media is a problem because it's one way in which these sick people are finding ways to lure them in. I mean, you have a lot of young girls that are getting paid because these, sick people are finding them on social media, and yeah, it's just really sick, and
mm.
it's not talked about a lot, but it's the stats are insane. So this guy that came on, I'm so upset I'm not remembering his name because I'm horrible with names, but yeah, he's with the Innocent Project, and what they do is they go undercover and stuff, and they arrest. They'll go undercover as like a young girl or boy, and um, set it up so that they catch these sick people who are luring these children in. And yeah, it's a cause I feel strongly about for sure, but I'm just learning about how, I guess, common it is and how deep it goes. It's pretty crazy.
Thank you for bringing light to that and talking about it. Where would you like to send the listeners? They want to learn more, they want to listen to your podcast, they're interested in your coaching services. Where can they go?
I would say my Instagram is probably where the most action is going. So at the Kaylor Betts, KaylorBetts, and then you can check out our Awaken Winning page. It's just Awaken Winning on Instagram, and then the Awaken Winning podcast is yeah, we put out 2 episodes a week, and that's been going for 6 years. We just crossed our 400th episode, and that was really exciting. And um, yeah, we're gonna keep going. And if you resonated with anything today, I am pretty like bold in my political stances and opinions and stuff like that. So you better saddle up and be ready for that if you're gonna check out my stuff too. But um, you might really enjoy it.
Congratulations on 400 episodes and also happy birthday.
Thank you.
I definitely would check out Kayla's podcast. I love it. I love all your content. I love your mission, your purpose, everything that you're sharing. I highly, highly recommend checking out his Instagram and everything else. And thank you so much for coming on and being a guest today.
Yeah, thank you very much, Jessica. This was fun.